On today's Poker Life podcast, we're joined by the Don King of Poker, mixed game player, and Poker Night in America representative / man who makes these great matches happen, Matthew Glantz. What's going on, everybody? My name is Joey One, aka Chicago Joey. Welcome to the Poker Life podcast. Reminder before we get into it, we had Doug Polk on the podcast earlier this week. That was a great episode. Put some best of clips up on YouTube. We got Kev Math this Friday. We got Lex Veldhouse next Monday. And that's it, man. One more thing. We got the shirts up. We got the clothing. We got the merchandise going on. Eat, Sleep, PLO. GTO is a way of life. Pigeons. Hashtag more rake in honor of Poker Stars. Fucking people again. And those links in the description below. It's on Teespring Poker Life Store. Joining me on the podcast today is a man who people have said, Poppy, when are you going to get this guy on? They said, Poppy, when are you going to hear more from the man himself that runs East Coast Poker in the United States? The man who people know now as the Don King, the promoter of Heads Up Grudge matches, a man who plays high-stakes mixed games, and also representative for Poker Night in America, Matthew Glantz is in the house. What's up, Matt? Welcome to the podcast, Puppy. What's going on?
Hey, Joey. How's it going? Great intro. That's funny. That's a first for me.
You like that intro, man? What's going on?
That was pretty epic. Came up with a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, I don't know where it comes from, man. I sit here and it just comes in my mind. And for you, I felt like I don't know. I feel like I know you're a poker player though, but when I think about you now, I just think of Don King and I think of you setting up this epic Cate Hall, Mike Dentale Heads Up Grudge match. You're getting in there. I even forgot you're a political Twitter. You're a part of political Twitter, and you like mixing it up on Twitter, man. It seems like you love getting after it.
Yeah, I'm not really just a poker player. I'm whatever I need to be at the time. So like I could be a little bit of everything.
So why don't you give people a little bit of backstory on your own poker experience? I know you've been around the poker world now for a pretty long time.
Yeah, so before poker, so I went to undergrad and grad school at Temple University in Philly and got a job as a clerk on the Philadelphia Stock Exchange floor back in the early 90s. So when most of you guys were born listening to this. And I was a clerk there for a little less than a year, became a trader on the floor, an options trader, derivatives trader, specialist on the floor, and worked on the stock exchange floor trading options mostly for 10 years up until like 2002, 2003, and did really well, had a really good time, loved the job, but I was looking for something new. The market was kind of turned as far as options trading goes. Everything became computerized, a lot of similarities to poker, how it used to be versus where it is now. So it was hard for the little small firms to compete with the big firms with the big computers and software. So had to get out and looking for something else and kind of just sort of tried poker for a year. And it was funny, my first year of poker, I told my wife, I think at the time we were married about 5-6 years, we're having our first kid. I said, let me try poker for a year. If I make X amount of money this year, then I'll try it again. If not, I'll go back to the market. And it was pretty much like that for the first 4 or 5 years, and after that, it just became the way of life, and now it's the poker life.
Wow, man! So did you start out playing? I'm assuming it was 2002. So did you start playing Hold'em cash or Hold'em tournaments, or kind of what was your first exposure to poker at the time?
I didn't really play any no limit, other than a random tournament here and there until about 2008 or 2009. So I played mostly mixed games, just like limit Hold'em to start, and then Omaha Low for probably the first like 4 or 5 years. And then played pretty much all the games by like 2009. And then I guess the draw games were later than that, but most of the games until then.
So do you have a ton of experience playing just Nolan Home tournaments, or have you sort of wanted to stick to mixed game cash and maybe some of the mixed game tournaments then?
So I have no experience playing the limit tournaments.
Mike, other than Puppy. Oh my God, I had the raw. Here I'm thinking you play a little bit of tournaments. Oh my God. Okay.
No time left.
It makes a little more sense now. It does. Okay. So no tournament, no home tournaments.
Nothing online, no limit online, no experience. Just played limit Hold'em online pretty much on some mixed games for a while. I think I'm losing you there. You're freezing up. So anyway, but yeah, I think I had some success. I played a random tournament in 2004, the U.S. Poker Championships at the Taj Mahal back then, when it was like a 10K. It was like the first big tournament that wasn't the World Series, and I final tabled that, by random luck. Had no idea what I was doing, and then Played some tournaments after that. 99% of what I did was play cash games up until 2008, 2009. 2008, I went to Europe for the first time. Played that London, I guess I don't know. I guess World Series of Poker or EPT. I don't even know what it was, but I won a high roller there. It was like a 25,000 euro buy-in, so it was like $33,000 buy-in. And at that point, I was like, well, I got to learn how to play no limit because I got lucky again. And there's a lot, there's a lot to be made here. So never went back to Europe after that time. Won it, done it. Like to stay home. I wasn't really thrilled with the 7-hour flight. So when I got back home, I was like, never again. Haven't been back since. But that was like 2008. And since then, I did do some work on No Limit, but never online, just my own work at home. And so mostly I play mixed games now, but I travel to a lot of tournament scenes when we have a Poker Night in America show. And then every now and then when I have like a weekend I can take off, like this past weekend I went down to Hard Rock for the tournaments and played the main event there and the 10K and enjoy it.
I can tell you got the nice tan looking there. You're looking all suave. You're looking all very GTO representative of a company right now, man. So I can see you're fully embracing the role here for Poker Night in America.
Fully embracing.
I had a comment. We got my buddy Ryan Fee in the chat. What's up, Poppy? Ryan Fee, he's just going straight for it, man. I mean, listen, I got to call this out, Ryan, because you're really jamming it up there. He said, what kind of options did you trade? Who taught you? What was your edge? He just wants to know straight away. So let's go back to that. So what kind of options did you trade and who taught you? And then we should say that for later, Ryan, but I kind of want to know more about that too.
Okay, so like in 1993, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was going to go to law school. I got accepted to like Widener Law School. Had some other ones where I had some options. Nothing I was too thrilled about. I went to orientation at Widener. I went for a day to orientation for law school and was like, this is not for me. So I was done with that. Went to business school. Got my MBA in a year at Temple. I also went to undergrad there, so I had some extra credits that could be used towards my MBA. So while I was getting my MBA, one of our classes, we had a tour of the stock exchange in Philadelphia. And when we were on the tour, I was like, I saw these screens, I saw these guys shouting, yelling, like trading options. It was like a football game. I was like, this is for me. This is the best thing ever. So I loved it. So I started like giving out my numbers, asking guys, begging them for jobs, right? Trying to make connections. I finally landed a job where I was going to make $16,000 the first year out of school as a clerk on the floor, basically just writing up tickets, just being the trader's bitch, get coffee, whatever I had to do. I didn't care. I was 23. I was living in the city. I was living with a couple guys. We had a good time. I was just like you, going out, playing a lot of chess, doing great things.
Well, hey, I don't know. Allegedly, I don't know. Go ahead. You keep going. I got nothing else to say about this.
I remember those were good times back then. And so then, yeah. So my first year. I made 16,000. I really picked it up fast. If you have a mind for poker, you definitely have a mind for trading. It's kind of the same thing. It's a lot of GTO stuff and trading too. So picked it up fast. Had a guy on the floor that owned the firm offer me a job. Basically, it's just similar to poker. He said he'll put up the money. It's 50-50, whatever I make for the year. That second year out of school, I think I was like 23 or 24. I made enough money for him and for myself after a year to split up and start my own firm. So then my first year on my own, I just killed it when I was 25. So that was the big year. And then hired traders, had traders on all the floors across the country. Had I think 12 or 13 at the peak. I don't know if they're all at the same time, but they were all in Chicago, San Francisco, New York, Philly, and did really well for a few years. And then had some losing years, kind of wavered back and forth, and then really figured out that the market wasn't what it used to be. It wasn't in the 90s, it was easy street. But once 2000 hit and the big firms were really coming down on the small guys like me. So I had to figure something out. And so it's to answer Ryan's question. So I traded many equity options, many index options, but my biggest earner was when Dell was singly listed. So you guys know Dell computers, but back then Dell was like Amazon or like Tesla today. Like Dell was like the big stock in the 90s. Especially like 95, 96, and it was singly listed in Philadelphia, which meant we had a license to just print money there. So, and I was one of the lead market makers right in the front of the crowd, pretty much running the show. So it was good times back then.
So then it sounds like it was doing really well. Obviously 2001 happened, 9/11 happened, the market, sort of went pretty downhill. And then, as you said, it sounds like the other big companies started doing a lot better. They started becoming more efficient, got into poker. And it seems like you've been doing pretty well from poker from day one. It sounds like a lot of those qualities and those abilities you built up trading carried over quite well into playing poker professionally.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. The way I actually learned how to play poker was like in 2003. So I was just playing limit hold'em. I was crushing 30-60 limit hold'em on Poker Stars and I think Party Poker at the time, playing shorthanded. Nobody knew how to play. I didn't know how to play either, but whatever I was doing was better than what everyone else was doing. And then when I really learned how to play was I got a screen shape. I don't know if it's called a screen scraper program that would scrape the screen, and I wrote a bot on the computer to play limit hold'em on.
Whoa! What the fuck? Wait, what? You were a botter?
This is before anything was illegal, immoral, anything. It was just internet poker. There was no rules. It was the Wild West. So I wrote a bot that first was playing 1-2 limit hold'em, then 2-4 was winning. Once I got to 10-20 limit hold'em on Party Poker, they froze my account, took my money. It was like $65,000 or something, and I said never again. But the thing is, by writing that bot and by learning it that way, I really taught me how to play the game limit hold'em.
Well,
and that was the big thing.
This is a unique story, I gotta say, boys. A unique story here. So you wrote the bot, and by the process of writing the bot, obviously you got to fix the bot along the way. That was a big way. That's a big important way for you to learn the game.
Yeah, every single day, constantly updating it. It started out as a loser, and I updated. Just like had very elementary, rudimentary decision making, like top pair, where if it flops middle pair, what to do, and it was just a learning experience of how to play limit hold'em, and it was great for me. As far as like the morals, there was nothing. First of all, I didn't know anybody in poker then. There was nobody saying bots were bad. I think it was expected that in 2000, 2003, 2004, like those things were just like part of the game. If I had to start now in poker, I wouldn't do it. I just wouldn't break the rules just because I don't want my money to be stolen mostly.
Steve says Matt Glantz looks like a guy that would have read a bot. I don't think so. No, I don't take you for a botter. But so wait, so you obviously you were very involved in online. You wrote the bot. Why did you decide to? It sounds like you went away from that online and then primarily stuck to playing the live games. Why did you decide to go that route?
So when I learned how to play limit hold'em, then money got taken from me, and then the game started getting tougher online. Even back then, the limit hold'em games, after about a year or two, weren't as good as they were. They're still way better than they are now. But I wasn't that good at it compared to players now. I wouldn't even be able to compete on 30-60 right now. But so the Borgata opened a poker room back then, and it was not the Borgata poker room it is today. It was like a basement room, and we used to play 81-60 81-60 limit hold'em, and then I think HO, all 8 or better and hold'em. 81-60 we used to play like Friday through Sunday every weekend, and it was just like the best game ever. Just printed. We just killed the game. So it was just like that for probably 2 or 3 years. And that's how I got into mixed games. So that when that kind of dried up, then bigger games started, 153, 2-4, 3-6, 4-8, and then I guess they got up to like 6-12 back then, and we were just playing bigger mixed games. It was great.
So you've primarily been focusing on playing those for, I guess the past bunch of years. It sounds like. Is Borgata the primary place? I see the Snapchat sometimes. It seems like you grind pretty often still. You like to play a lot still.
Well, when I can, I'll play. Sometimes I'll play on a Friday down at Borgata. If there's games at Sugar House here, where I represent Sugar House, so we're going to start building more big mixed games there now that we have the draw games approved and the other games that aren't standard at most poker rooms, other than like Hold'em, Stud, and the great game PLO. There's not many games that are approved at most of the other poker rooms around. So we'll play like a lot of PLO in our mix, but we'll play like HOSE, which is Hold'em, Only 8 or better, Stud 8 or better, and Triple Draw and Badoogie. So those draw games.
When PLO comes up, is everybody refer to it as the great game in Pot Omaha, or is it not reached over to that casino quite yet?
So people do say that. I hear them, and I know it's from you, so that's great. But you would love our mix because PLO is every 4th game. So there's 7 or 8 games, and HOSE Badoogie triple draw, and then 2 of the games are PLO. So every 4th game we play PLO, but for right now we're playing 300, 600 mix in the limit games, and then we play 100, 300-hour blinds, 6,000 cap in the PLO rounds. So it's insane action. So I don't know how much cap PLO you played, but cap PLO is 10 times the amount of action as uncapped PLO, obviously.
Listen, man. Okay, 100 big blind is plus is all we advocate here on the Poker Live podcast, my friend. 100 big blind, pot limit Omaha, the great game of pot limit Omaha. That is, that's what we prefer around here. 100 big blind plus, 500 big blinds, 7,000 big blinds. That's the kind of one. You got a game like that over there at the Sugar House Casino. So
there's like 5-10 PLO. I think on Monday night there was 5-10 PLO, or two games of 5-10 PLO, and that's uncapped. So that's all for you. And we're trying to get bigger. We'll probably have 10-25 coming up soon.
So how did you get involved with this? We might have this Poker Night in America. So when did that transition take place? How did that exactly come to be?
Oh, so like from like late 2000s, I guess 7 to 2011, I was responsible for building a lot of the games of Brigada in an unofficial capacity, taking mixed games, and I kind of ran the game as far as organizing it, getting people's phone numbers, putting out a group chat, just making sure everyone's there at the same time so we have games every weekend. And in 2011 or 12, Parks approached me, or maybe even my agent at the time approached them. I don't even know, but somehow they made me an offer to come there and try to build the games there. And I think I started late 2011 or 2012. And I was there for almost 3 years and building games there, building the big stacks. I don't know if you ever heard of the Parks Big Stacks. Like, that was created from scratch, and that's become a pretty nice, successful hit. I think I think those guys are on like Parks Big Stacks 22 now, and they're killing. I think the last February, maybe they had 2,500 entries for the 300 or the 500-hour event, or I don't even know, but they're killing it. So they're doing good. So that's still long lasting. But after about 3 years of doing a job there, which I think our team there did really good, and I think I felt like it was a big part of it. I got an offer from Rush Street Gaming to come work for them. So this is a big opportunity for me because Rush Street Gaming is not just a casino. Like, Parks is a single entity by itself, and Rush Street Gaming owns 4 casinos plus Poker Night in America. So to come work for them, to try to put that all together, use the synergies of Poker Night in America with the poker rooms. We have 3 poker roomes. Our one casino that doesn't have a poker room is in your hometown, Chicago. You know the River Des Plaines?
Oh, it's River Des Plaines?
Des Plaines, yes.
Oh, okay, I don't go there. I've never been there before. But they don't have poker there?
They don't have poker there, but that might change later. Maybe in the next couple of years that might change for the good.
So I actually want to go back to something you mentioned, because I think we kind of you talked about it, and I think most people aren't going to quite comprehend it, but recently one of my GTO club members, Dr. Space, he plays a lot of 510 down here in Tampa. Shout out to Dr. Space. He wrote an article for 2+2 magazine that sort of talks about building games and what's good for live games. And basically he's trying to improve the ecosystem of the live games down in Tampa. And he's just trying to draw awareness to exactly what some of the players come in and they do poorly in terms of dealing with fun players in the game. So for someone like yourself, who obviously has had a lot of experience building games and had success with it, what do you feel like the mistakes you see from players are that create bad games and create dead games where the fun players don't want to come back to play?
Okay, so the biggest thing, there's one big thing that 90% of players don't get, and I've tried to instill this in all the players that I play with, all the professional players that I play with for years now. And as part of your job as being a professional poker player is being an entertainer. It's not just being the best poker player you can be. If you entertain, I mean, people are going there that, the fun players are saying they're going there to have a good time. If you're not entertaining, why should they play with you versus somebody else? Why they'll choose the pro that's entertaining over the pro that's not all the time. So now you see all these private games, you see these things going on. It's all political now, but even when it wasn't political back then, there's no reason not to entertain while you're playing. You can study all the poker you want, but if you can't get in the good games, what's that all do?
Yeah, it seems like this is something that I hear discussed a little bit. I mean, Lyman always goes on these rants about this type of stuff during his show and on Twitter and stuff like that. And I don't exactly know why more players who get to that level don't. And I guess they do want to win money, but it seems like that you miss out on winning that long-term money by being so short-term focused with your approach and with your attitude. And when you talk about players having more fun playing, what kind of tips or what would you suggest that people do when you say, like, all right, like, because most people, like these guys, a lot of young guys, they don't really know how to have fun in themselves. So they don't necessarily know how to entertain someone else. They don't know how to entertain themselves.
So what I would suggest is, and this is just the way I go about it, and people don't like it so much, but I would suggest shit on the pros and be as nice and friendly and make everyone who's not a pro as happy as possible. So all the pros know this for years. I'm needling the pros if they play bad or do something stupid or just miserable. I'm constantly on their ass, needling them, trying to make light of the situation, what they're doing, and always trying to entertain the non-pros by needling and torturing the pros in the game. So a lot of pros don't like me for that, and I don't blame them. But just I think that's the job. I wish everyone did it.
So wait a sec. So you don't have the iPad? You're not the iPad? Wait, do you have the iPad? I don't know. You might have the iPad. Sorry if you got the iPad, Matt. I'm not taking it back. But are you got the iPad out too, or is you not an iPad guy?
I mean, I'm not an iPad guy, but I could tell you from recent experience, there's some guys in our big mix game that are right now going through a situation which is kind of ugly, where they're not getting a seat, and part of that reason is that they're on their iPhones or they have headphones on and they're not engaging, and they're just not doing just the common sense things. It doesn't take a genius. I'm not a genius, but I'm really big on common sense. And a lot of poker players are really way smarter than me, but are very lacking in common sense.
Right, and this seems to be something where I feel like you'd learn this as more games go private. I mean, this is a big thing now. There's a lot of private games not in a casino. There are a lot of private games in casinos now, and a lot of players. I talk to some of these guys. They talk to me. They say, "What can I do? What should I do?" And I mean, I think what happens is that if you have a reputation as someone who isn't talking, who's on the iPad, who's on the iPhone, who doesn't say much, I mean, it's going to be a tough spot, especially if you're a big winner in the game too. Then they're not going to want to play with you. And I think it seems like something that I don't exactly know how to get industry-wide potential improvement in this area, but it seems like, I don't know, what would you suggest? What would you suggest out there for maybe someone like myself or somebody like Doug to maybe start helping people become aware that this is a thing if they don't realize it already?
I don't even care if they're not aware. It's their problem. I mean, I try to teach the guys I like. I try to tell them what's going on. But if you're a big winning player and you're not entertaining, it's not going to last forever. I mean, if you're a losing player, you don't have to be entertaining. Everyone wants to play with you. But if you're a big winning player and you're entertaining, people are still going to want to play with you. So it's really your choice. You just got to think what's best for you long term.
So I guess you can kind of take this approach over to Poker Night in America. So you're putting on these cash games. You're a big part of picking the lineups that play. So when you do something like that, are you trying to seek out only entertaining players that'll be entertaining on stream or on television, or what's sort of the approach that you're taking right now with making the most out of these shows? Okay,
so let me back up a little bit. So first of all, I just came on board with Poker Night in America officially last January in 2016. They've been around since 2013 or 14. I was on the first show as a player, and up until last January, I was a player on the show. The show's creator and executive producer is Todd Anderson. A lot of you guys know him, big, tall guy, looks like a Viking.
Yeah, Todd's been on the podcast a couple of times. Shout out to Todd. Yeah.
Total genius, has a great vision. He came up with this all on his own. He started Heartland Poker Tour and sold that before Poker Night in America. And it's his vision. And I think from day one, his vision's always been like, I want to show the people at home how entertaining poker really is, how fun poker can be. So that's really our mission, our goal from the beginning. And that's not me, that's Todd Anderson from the beginning. So I'm kind of a late addition, hopefully to help the show in a lot of ways from where they were at a point in last January. I think we've done a lot of those things that I've tried to do. But as far as like, I'm not taking credit for the show, for how it started. That's all Todd Anderson. And we have an amazing crew. So some of those guys behind the scenes, like Tony McNally and Matt McGregor, like running the show in the back. It's one of the top-notch live streams out there right now. I mean, you can't ask for better with technology and just how smooth it runs. So when you saw like Sugar House Casino run a couple weeks ago, I mean, it was just one of the best live streams I've seen. Technological, I don't know, what's the word? Technology-wise, anyway.
Technical.
Yeah, technology-wise, it was one of the best streams I've seen in a long time. So hats off to those guys. So I'm just really happy to be part of the team. I feel really guilty, and at the same time, I know it's important for me to be out there in the face because I have a big following on Twitter or whatever. But it's really, I'm just a small part of the team with Poker Night in America, and it's a group of guys that work super hard and really have a great vision for what we're doing. So, really hats off to those guys. I wish they got more credit because they deserve more and I deserve less for what we've done recently.
Yeah, I mean, I had Todd on, I think, before the first episode aired, and we kind of talked about the show. And this was when I was a podcast noob as well. So it's one of my first, I think one of my very top first 10 or first 15 guests, something like that. And he sort of talked about, and it's kind of what happened. I think it's evolved a little bit. I know there was a bit more following people around to start off with, and now there's a lot more cash games that are going on. And I mean, it's pretty awesome to see. And I feel like Poker Night in America is on an upswing. And I feel like maybe one of the reasons why some people might give you credit and because you are being vocal, you are putting yourself out there on Twitter, you do have a Twitter following, you get in the feuds, and people always are paying attention to all these political feuds and all. Even if they don't care about the fucking what's going on in there, they're still paying attention to it. So I feel like that's probably why people see and they're like, oh, okay, well, it's maybe Matt's had a big part, and those guys behind the scenes that aren't as vocal, don't have a big following, unfortunately, in those spots don't get enough credit, I feel like, as well. And this is kind of goes in other brands in poker that I know about too. So, I mean, I do think it's pretty cool for you to, at least say that. And I mean, I don't know if I guess most people that are representatives would probably take that approach, but I feel like it's a pretty GTO way to be.
I'm just telling the truth. If it was all me, I would say it's all me. So I just like to spit out the truth. That's all.
So was it you or was it Todd that was responsible for putting Mike Dentale in that collared shirt and not letting him wear his tank top during the heads-up match? So I mean, who do I blame for that? I'd like to know.
That was a disaster, right? He should have been in his tank top and his hat like usual, but he walked in that day all spiffied up with the collared shirt, the collar straight up, and no hat. All hair was all done. And I know Todd. Todd said this in another podcast recently that he didn't even recognize Dentale when he walked in. He walked by him into the booth, and Todd's like, "What is this guy doing here?" Had no idea who it was. I mean, I know Dentale a little better, so I recognize him, but he really looked like a different guy. And I think maybe if he was wearing a tank top like you are today and the hat and had his usual shtick, he might have fared a little better in that match.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. When I saw his outfit, I mean, I thought he looked great. He definitely looked very good, but at the same time, wasn't feeling it myself. I expected a tank top. I expected to bring that fire, bring those energy, bring those muscles. And, he brought the pop collar polo shirt, man. So I feel like that was the direct reason why he lost. And maybe in future heads-up matches, he'll maybe be able to adjust his strategy and wear the tank top.
Yeah, I think he learned his lesson. Mike's my boy, but the collared shirt and the whole get-up, that wasn't him. That wasn't really Mike Dentale. So I think he was just trying to look good for his image, for his family, just be dressed up, which I understand, but that's just not him.
So what do you think overall about the show? I mean, the show went off, very popular stream on Twitch. You had Doug, you had Sean out there. You stacked it with some very entertaining cash games. The lineups were fun. The action was good. It seemed like it went very, very well. So
it was a huge success from the standpoint of Sugar House Casino, which was great because I represent Sugar House also. And that's the first ever branded Poker Night in America poker room. And we're really kicking ass over there and trying to capture a lot of market share in the Philadelphia, New York area. So that was really good about getting the brand out and getting the name out because it's a young poker room, only a couple of years old, and trying to grow it right now. So from their perspective, I think it was a huge hit. There's people before that weekend, probably at least I would say 30 to 50% of people in poker. If you said Sugar House Casino, they'd say, "Where's that?" Wouldn't even know what city it's in. But I don't think there's more than 10% of the poker community now that doesn't know where Sugar House is. Just from that sort of right? No, we have a casino called Rivers in Pittsburgh, though.
Oh, where's it at? Philadelphia?
Joey, I don't think you know much about the East Coast, but we actually have a casino in Philly, which is Sugar House Casino. We have one in Pittsburgh, which is Rivers Casino. And we have one up in New York that just opened 2 months ago. It's Schenectady, which is near Albany, New York, which is also called Rivers.
So where the heads-up match took place in Pittsburgh, right?
Are you trolling me right now, Jelly? Because you look like you're trolling.
I don't know. Where did it take place?
Philadelphia, the great city of Philadelphia, where I grew up.
Yeah, okay. Listen, I'm trying to set the question up. You said that now people know where it's at. It was just my way of bringing it up, so now people get to know where it's at.
Oh, that's awesome. I thought you were trolling. I gave you too much credit. No,
I was invited out there to go. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. We did invite you and Samantha. We're gonna do like the alternative stream, like the alternative news or like fake news stream.
I saw. Doug was doing it. My guy let him do it, and then I saw Perkins gonna do something too. I'm like, yeah, let these guys set this guy. I don't know.
By the way, I'm so glad. So I didn't really know Doug before January. Maybe met him once before. I know Sean Deeb for a long time, but I knew in my mind that Doug was going to be the guy to run the show for the commentary for the live stream. So like he has such a vision, and the way he presents himself on YouTube and makes himself so interesting is such a huge talent. Something I could never do. 99% of people in poker could never do. I mean, he just has a natural talent to be interesting, which is really cool. So I really sought him out to be the commentator. Originally, it was going to be him and Jared Jaffe, my boy, my other big dummy boy. But it didn't work out with him, Cate, so whatever. So then I grabbed Sean Deeb, who's also always awesome in those spots. And I knew that Doug and Sean would be great together, and I was really happy. Really happy with how it worked out, because when it becomes a heads-up match, even a grudge match, there's always that chance they're not going to talk on the table. And I couldn't risk not having commentators and just leaving the camera on the table. There could be 20 minutes of silence between them. You'll never know. No matter how much trash talk they have on Twitter, we can get there that day and they can clam up. And at some points they did, but overall they were pretty good. But just having Doug and Sean in the booth, two guys that know the game of heads up, know the game of poker, know their audience, really did us a good service.
Yeah, I thought they had brought a good mixture to the table too, because Doug approached this from the super GTO standpoint. Sean approaches things from a lot of live game experience play. So he's coming from this way, Doug's kind of coming from this way, and it's kind of funny to see them sort of go into spots and have these differing viewpoints. And Sean really went back down. Doug's obviously not gonna. So it was like a fun dynamic. I got to watch some of it. Even though I said I'm not gonna watch it, I got to watch some of it. I had to check it out. I guess the one thing I was thinking about was I expected more table talk out of Cate in that position. Obviously, they're very vocal on Twitter, the bitch, the hose, all that kind of stuff like that. So I would have expected that. I know she came there to win. It's a lot of money at stake. I think that both players wanted to win. But at the same time, from your end, as someone's putting the show on, were you expecting a bit more talk out of her? Or is that something in the future, if this is to happen, you're like, hey, guys, if we do this, like, we're looking for something a bit more engaging on both sides of things?
So I wasn't expecting more from her. I was hoping for more, but it's up to the player. I'm not going to tell them, and they're risking their own money. I'm not going to tell them how to act. But I know from a perspective going in, Mikey was more of like, all right, I'm going to appear to play poker and win, but I'm also putting on a show. And I think Cate's mindset was, I'm here to win at all costs, and putting on a show comes way down the line. And that's just their personal preferences, and they have every right to take those lines.
Yeah, I guess so. In the future, is that going to be something if match? Because I know there might be. I mean, I don't know what's public or not. I've heard some things, so I don't want to get too into what I've heard. But I know there may be some more similar type of things like this in the future. So is that going to be something that you might bring up to the players in the future and say, hey, talk a little bit more, or is this just something you're going to play? You're going to kind of go at it and let them do their own thing?
Yeah, I've learned a lot from this experience. So there's, it was our first time, really my first time doing anything like this. So even though I think we got a lot of things right, there's so many things we can improve and get better. Certain things like they just shouldn't have phones at the table. I wish I would have made that clarification before they got there. I just assumed that they would realize the focus is on them, and not that phones at the table is immoral or something like that, but it just makes the player disengaged from the entertainment value of the table. So if Cate's on her phone, she's not going to be engaged with Mike at that moment, and it kind of puts brakes on the action as far as them interacting with each other. If there was no phones, I think that there would have been more table talk and more entertainment. So in the future, definitely no phones at the table. We had in the regular cash game, we always have no phones at the table. So we got rid of that at least a year ago, and it's worked out much better for us.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I can understand Cate's perspective. This is a lot of beef going on here. She wants to win. She's going to put herself in the best position to do that. So it's certainly understandable. I don't think it's out of line on her end to maybe not engage in the same type of conversation that was going on Twitter. I know there was big thing that did come out of that, which was a Tipgate. So Tipgate took place, and obviously, you know, I don't know, like I said, once again, I don't know what's public on this. So you two got in a back and forth there about the situation, about the tipping situation. So what exactly happened there, and why did this become such a big public thing in terms of whose responsibility was the tip and all that sort of fun stuff?
Okay, so let me just tell you the facts, like not to defend Cate, but just so that these are, in my mind, this is what happened. So she won the match. She was, you know, overwhelmed. There was just like people grabbing at her, come over here for the interview, come over here, come in the booth, whatever, you know, whatever. I gave her a big hug. Like she's just, you know, it's a lot of pressure. Everyone, the spotlight's on her. And she probably just forgot to tip. Like if I was in that situation, I probably would forget also. Like I could totally see that. It never crossed my mind that she's going to tip or not tip. It was just like we were so busy with other things. And I think it was the last thing on her mind. So I don't think, like, I think she's getting a bad rap. Like she purposely didn't want to tip. Like she's cheap or something. I don't think that's the case. I don't even think there's a 1% chance that's the case. I think at the time she just forgot and didn't even realize it. And I think if I would have said something to her, or if I knew that she didn't tip, and at the time, I think that it would have been it wouldn't have been a big deal. Like she would have probably tipped at whatever she felt comfortable, and we would have moved on. Unfortunately, I didn't realize it. She didn't realize it, and then some either girlfriend or friend of a dealer tweeted at Cate later that night and was like, you know, you screwed the dealers. You won $30,000. You didn't tip. And of course, nobody would ever saw that tweet because this is just dealer's girlfriend. It's not even somebody who's not even in poker. And if Cate didn't respond to that tweet, no one would have ever even known of this. So I didn't know. I still didn't know it at the time. I'm out to dinner with Doug Polk, Sean Deeb, Todd Anderson, and Mike Dentale. Okay, we're out to dinner in Philly that night after the match was over, late. I even invited Cate to come dinner with us because I thought everything would be cool after the match. Like I just wanted everyone to kind of get along. I wanted Mike and Cate to hug it out. That would have been like the nuts if they did that later, but it just never happened. And we were out to dinner, and then whatever, Mikey's on his phone, like, you guys won't believe what's going on Twitter right now. So Cate responded to this girl, the girlfriend, and said, "Oh, I didn't have to tip or something because Poker Night told me they were going to do it," which is like, didn't happen. So like, now what am I going to do? So now like makes Poker Night look bad. Mm-hmm. Nothing like that was ever said between me and her or Todd and her. Nobody ever said that. All the shows before that she played on, the players tipped. Like regardless of what's right or wrong, the tradition is the players tip. Okay, we can go into what's right or wrong later. We probably should, because I know Dan O'Brien wants me to get into that. In the general sense of what's right or wrong to tip the dealers in a TV game. But for now, let's go with the tradition's always been the player tip. And it's really not a big deal. So like Mike's on Twitter, you know, like egging it on, getting crazy. So I text Cate privately and I'm like, you know, I said, this is really awkward. But if you, I don't know if you remember to tip, but if you want, I'll tip the dealers for you and, you know, just reimburse me later. And she didn't take that very well. So she kind of like took offense to me saying that to her. And then like we butt heads, whatever. And the next day I wasn't on Twitter for the next like 24 hours because I was down in Maryland. We were working on a deal down there for the show. And like, I was busy driving up and down. And then I get back that afternoon and I see like, she's tweeting like that night, she's tweeting, I'll never play on the show again. They didn't pay me anything, and now I had to pay my train up there, which is a couple $100, and watch that, and like basically like trashing the show. And then, you know, like of course I can't help myself, so then I get on there and retweet and like, well, this isn't exactly true, or this is misleading, and whatever. So then, you know, whatever, it got out of hand. So I should have just stayed out of it. I screwed up there, making it bigger than it already was, which was already pretty big that whole next day. But yeah, I think it was so stupid because I don't even think it's like she didn't want to tip. I don't think that was it at all. I think she just came up with like, when she replied to the dealer's girlfriend, she just came up with the top of her head what made most sense for her at the moment. And it just like, it was just a bad look. So whatever, like I have no issues with Cate, like other than if she's going to trash the show. But like, I have no issues with her. Like, I don't dislike her. I don't have any ill feelings to her. I wish her well. I heard her on Doug Polk's podcast last week saying that Matt Glantz hates me. I don't know. I don't know why she thinks that or where that comes from, but I don't. So like, I don't have any hate for her. I hope everything goes well with her. But that's all. What else you want to do?
So you and Cate will be playing in the next match then? Is that what I'm getting from this, or is that?
I have a feeling that she's never going to talk to me again, based on our last communication. That she basically said that to me. But that's, you know, whatever. I don't want to make, you know, I don't want to make her miserable. I don't want to hurt her. So like, if that's what she wants, that's fine with me. I wish her well. That's all.
Well, shout out to Cate. Obviously, great showing. She won the match, took it down pretty handily. So I think she ultimately got her outcome out of the situation. But, you know, obviously it's unfortunate that the tip gate took place. And you know, what we mentioned is tipping right or wrong. And something I heard on Twitter, a couple players talking about how we always tip the dealers in televised cash games. And I guess you're talking about Dan O'Brien says it right or wrong. You know, should the production pay for the tipping? In that instance, should the players get paid? So I guess what's your stance on the situation? Because I can understand maybe both sides of it, but at the same time, I feel like, actually, I don't want to say that because maybe I might plan something and it might impact what could happen in that spot. So go ahead, just tell me your thoughts on this, Matt. Is it right or wrong in that spot?
Okay, so let's back up on this one. Let's just go take a broader sense. So a lot of professional poker players are not going to like what I have to say, but I don't care. I don't care. They're just not going to like it. Here's the deal. Poker businesses, poker TV shows, poker websites, poker rooms, they really only have two obligations to the players. Number one is to have a safe and fair playing environment. Okay, that's number one. And the second thing is that they honor what they say they're going to do. Other than that, there's no other obligation they have to poker players. Poker players are not some special breed. They're not. It's not like universal health care, the right to play poker in a poker room or the right to play poker on a TV show. It's not like some divine right, noble cause. Okay, these are businesses trying to make money. Okay, so a safe and fair environment. If the people are cheating on full tilt poker or whatever, you know, that's a big thing. They don't have a right to not investigate that kind of situation or fix that situation. Okay, if people are cheating on ultimate bet or in a poker room, you should expect them to do the right things by the players and make it right. Something like the World Series of Poker a couple years ago had those really bad cards where some people could read the backs of the cards and in big events for the first half of the summer. That was an integrity issue, and it was a huge thing. And you have a right to go public and really make sure that they do the right things. But when World Series of Poker charges like 10% rake or 20% rake, whatever they want to charge, or $18 for a hot dog or $7 for soda, they have that right. Like, if you don't want to play, go somewhere else and play in another casino or play in another venue or play in another tour. You don't have a divine right to play the World Series of Poker at the cheap rates that you want. It's just a business. These guys have bosses at the World Series of Poker that have bosses that answer to the shareholders, and some companies answer to the investors. And the shareholders, investors only care about bottom line. They don't care about what's fair or what rate you're paying. These guys have to answer. Everyone's got to answer the way up. So when you bitch and as a poker player, you bitch and say that the rake's too high and these guys are scumbags, it's all bullshit. It's just the way the world we live in. It's capitalism. It's just America. It's not Trump's America. It's Obama's America, Hillary's America, and Trump's America. It's America.
You're saying that you're for more rake, it sounds like.
No, I didn't say that. As a player, I'm going to go shop for the least amount of rake I can, for the best playing environment I can, if I want to vote with my pocketbook. But because I love the World Series of Poker, for example, and love the 50K mixed event or the 10K stud event, I'll go play it. And if they raise the rake to 25%, I might still play it because I'm a sucker. And so are many that, we have nowhere else to play this kind of event. But this is just the truth. This is just the facts of life. If you don't want to pay it, don't go. And guess what? If they charged 80% rake, no one would show up and they would have no business. But there's going to be a point where they can keep charging higher, and you're going to keep coming. But don't bitch, just don't come if you don't like it. But for sure, so let's talk about the second rule that they have.
I'm curious how this transitions into the Poker Night America. Now I'm interested. I'm really interested. I think I know the answer, but I want to hear what you got.
Okay, so the second part of that, what we say, what would they say the second part was? Oh, businesses have to honor what they say they're going to do. So a good example, obviously, of someone not doing that is Poker Stars when they screwed over the what are the Supernova players or whatever a couple years ago.
Most Supernova elites and yeah, correct.
Okay, so like this business who has the right to charge whatever they want, give whatever rake back they want, give whatever points they want, and I have no problem with that. And if people don't like it, they shouldn't play there. They should play somewhere else. They're not forced to play there. But if once this company says we're going to give you X amount of dollars back on your rake up until 2014 March or whatever, and then they renege on it after that, before that policy is over, well, that's not cool. So in my mind, call them scumbags or whatever they want to say, because the company didn't honor their obligations. But other than honoring their obligations and providing a safe and fair playing environment, I don't think Poker Stars or Full Tilt or the World Series of Poker owes poker players anything.
So how does this tie into Poker Night America potentially not paying players then?
So, I don't think that's what you're asking about, paying the tip. We don't pay players. So you were talking about the players paying the tip for the viewers versus
sides, right? So players or Poker Night America paying the tip, and then also I think another conversation that was being had was whether players get paid to play on the show or not. I know I saw that floating around. It's certainly kind of something I've wondered as well too.
So I wish that Poker Night in America was making like $10 million a year and we could pay players $2,000 an hour to play on the show. That would be great for everyone. And I would love to do that. But that's just not the case. And if we're going to pay players, if we're going to pay like Phil Hellmuth to be on the show or Daniel Negreanu or one thing there's times when it's worth it to pay someone. We had someone like Brad Garrett on the show. That might be worth it to pay someone. Brad Garrett, for you guys that don't know, is a comedian. Everybody loves Raymond guy. So there's certain players who would be worth to pay because it would be net positive for the show. But there's just a handful of them. I mean, there's really so let's say there's an ecosystem of like 300 professional poker players that we even consider on the show that are names. Okay, maybe out of that 300, 15 of them actually move the needle as far as the live stream or the TV show at all, like that have any bearing on our numbers. And maybe of those 15, maybe only like 5 of them really matter at all. So maybe only those 5 are worth it. And it's just the reality of the world we live in. It's not like
who are the 5? Who's the 5? Who's on the list?
So obviously Hellmuth, Negreanu, and I mean, who else can we come up with? I'm just thinking on the fly.
Phil Ivey.
There's got to be other guys. Phil Ivey would probably be one, but maybe not because he's probably Tom Dwan.
There's only one. Tom Dwan. As Doug, do you feel like Doug's in that category right now in terms of the online stream side of things?
He's definitely in the top 15 right now because of what he built as a following last year. And like I think a guy like Doug or a guy like Isildur would really help the stream numbers, the live stream, tremendously, but wouldn't have any effect on TV show numbers. I just don't think that audience really knows those guys at all. So I think it's a different thing. But right now we're really focusing on the stream and trying to build that stream to be the best stream in the industry, and really happy about that. The show's got a lot of work to go.
So what do you got?
So where were we? So
paying for the tip part, correct?
So this is why I got into all this stuff. What companies owe you? So Poker Night in America is a company. There's investors that started the company, and when they invest in the company, they can set the rules they want, whether it's poker or some other business. And they're offering a TV show for players to play on at the rates that they're. So basically, in general, for most players, they're going to get a hotel room for the weekend, wherever casino we're playing at, and they're going to pay for their expenses to get there, and they're going to pay for their own buy-in on the show. And if they want to tip, it's up to them if they want to tip. But as a practice, from the day one, from the first show we ever did, with the first episode, you'll remember this, was me, Sean Deeb, Christy Arnett, Greg Mueller, Gavin Smith, and Mike Matusow. And the reason you'll remember that is because that's when Sean Deeb slow-rolled Mike Matusow, and he was ready to punch him. And that was the first show. And from that point, we just decided to do like a tip pod every half an hour. We didn't ask the show to tip. We just assumed, because the tradition in all of poker TV, all poker TV shows, has been the players tip. So first of all, this has nothing to do with Cate or her tipping. I'm just saying in general, like that's been the tradition. So we just started that tradition on the show. It's been like that every show since. And for a player like I love Dan O'Brien personally. Like, he's a good friend of mine. I trust him like completely. He's really smart in a lot of ways. I really like him, but he's an idiot in this sense.
Bang, bang.
His position. Let me read to you his position. He sent me his position because he didn't want me to mess it up.
Wait, can I send you a position? What's the way I can send a position in?
I want to state his position fairly. Players should be able to tip, but production should not rely on them to cover a dealer's partial wage. So that's Dan O'Brien's position. So I didn't mess it up, and that's fine. I agree with him. Players can decide to tip or not. Nobody should tell a player they have to tip, and production certainly wouldn't say that. What we want to do is create an environment where it's fun and the players are going to take care of the dealers. The dealers get their wage from the casino. So basically, Poker Night in America comes to a casino like Sugar House, and Sugar House, has dealers, has poker tables, has licenses. They have everything. Poker Night in America is really just the filming crew to put in place inside the poker room or the casino as it was there, and kind of film a show. So the casino's responsibility is the dealers. So basically, the casinos are providing the dealers in all of our stops, and they get their small wage, and they work just like they did in the poker room, where they rely mostly on tips. The show could tip them, but I'll tell you what, if the productions tipped the dealers, they would never make as much as they're going to make when the players tip them, because we tip them huge as players, and no production company is ever going to say, oh, we should tip the dealers $30 an hour and tell the players not to tip them. It just doesn't happen. But the whole point is, it's a market-based system where there's no need for the company to pay the dealer. So there's no need for Poker Night in America to give hotel rooms to players either. But we do it because we like to do it, because we can and we can afford it and we like to do it. So like, for example, in Choctaw, it's coming up in 2 weeks. And part of our contract that we have, Poker Night in America has with the casino, is we get a certain number of rooms allotted for the players. And if we didn't do that, the contract that would be better for Poker Night in America. They could use some of that money on other things rather than poker rooms for players. And I can tell you, because I deal with the players, we have 80 to 100 requests for players that want to play on this show at Choctaw for those 3 days. And I only could fit like 21 players over 3 days, because we're 7-handed. And we don't have to give them anything. Players are dying to play, and whatever. It's fun. It might get you some publicity, and it's a good time. It's good, and they're good games. So you have the right to not play if you don't want to tip, or you feel like it's wrong for the production company not to tip. That's fine. I don't really care. If you don't want to play, don't play. So like Dan's a great example. Dan O'Brien, smart guy, one of my good friends in poker, love him. But like, if he doesn't want to play because he doesn't feel like tipping the dealer, it doesn't matter to me. And he could gripe all he wants on Twitter, but that's just the tradition in poker. Like,
he's not on that list. He doesn't make the list of the people you guys are paying, or he doesn't make the list, huh?
I mean, I have a soft spot for him because he's my friend, he could probably play at some point, but he has to know, like, when I started playing on the show, I played on the show for 2 years, a lot of episodes before I ever became officially acquainted with the show. And I was happy to tip the dealers. I mean, they were paying for my hotel. They paid, at the time, they were paying for some travel expenses, whatever. And even if they didn't pay for anything, I was happy to be on the show. I would have been happy to tip. And everybody else on that show was also. You can ask like Matusow, Sean Deeb, Greg Mueller. These guys would laugh if you said, well, the production should pay the tips. There's like Dan and his small legion of agreeers tries to make it like it's a noble cause for the players to be able to play on the show without tipping the dealers. Like, it doesn't fucking matter. Who cares? Tip the dealers. It's not a big deal. It's not like you're inalienable right to play on the TV show. Like, as a poker player, you're not. Like, poker players are a dime a dozen. It's just reality. and I'm one of them. So I know from both sides. I'm not talking from a business perspective. I'm talking from a TV perspective. I mean, from a player's perspective. So like, remember the NBC Heads Up, how big of a deal that was?
Yeah.
Like, I was dying to be on that show. I wasn't a big name. Like, I'm not a big name, whatever. Finally, they invited me on the show. The last year it was on. I was so thrilled to be on that show. Like, I just felt like the top of the world. Like, that's the greatest thing ever. It was so much fun. And if I would have won that, I would have been so thrilled to tip the dealers. Or if I would have been expected to tip the dealers just for my match, that would have been fine. Like, whatever. I'm just happy to be on the show. It's fun.
Couple ideas out of this. One,
okay.
Have you thought about charging more rake to potentially cover some of these tips, or maybe
that's a good point.
Pick some more players, because I think more rake right now with the more rake, obviously the merchandise out there, more rake. You can check it out, of course, Poker Life store. But more rake seems to be the trend in the poker world. Have you guys thought about maybe charging more rake?
So that's a great layup. Thank you, Joey. We don't charge rake. How about that? Poker Night in America has never charged any rake for any of the players. It's free rake, no time. And if the players want to tip, we're happy to have them tip the dealers. So, that's part of it. And quite frankly, if we didn't give hotels to the players and then we tip the dealers, half of the money we spend on the hotels, we'd save a lot of money. I don't know if that would matter to Dan, if we did that, but it's just a matter of what we do. We're just a show, and that's what we do, and that's what we have to offer. And if players don't want to play, and we need players, like say the players all got together and banded together, and we're a labor force and said we're going to strike if you don't tip the dealers, I guess we'd tip the dealers if we wanted to continue filming poker players. But
Second question. As you mentioned, and people might get upset at me for this one, but I got to ask it anyway. Wait, are you planning to do any Pot Limit Omaha episodes anytime soon in the near future?
We would love to do Pot Limit Omaha, but two things. We don't have the RFID capabilities. We don't have that software currently. There's a little box where it picks up the RFID cards on the table when you play, and it only holds 2 cards. It would be a big expense for us to do that. And the other thing is, you can tell me, but what percentage of No Limit viewers on TV or in a live stream would be cut down if we aired a PLO game?
I mean, I don't know, man. I think it would rise, man. I think it would grow.
There'd be more viewers for PLO than No Limit.
What's the great game of Pot Limit Omaha, Matthew? Of course. I mean, if they're going to come out in droves, I feel like there'd be a viewer count never before seen with the right players. Of course, you get the right players on the show, the people are going to come.
I think even if we got the right players, we might get 20% of the viewership. So that worries me, because it's just people don't understand the game, unfortunately, because guys like you don't explain it to them well enough, I guess.
Bang, bang. Yeah, I guess I got to take partly responsibility for that. Obviously, while it is a great game, it also is an intricate game. It's not like Texas Hold'em. Obviously, it's more fun. You get 4 cards instead of 2, easily PLO. But yeah, it makes sense. I still feel like one time, right? So what's the downside potentially? You got a weekend, you do 3 events, and you play, 1 or 2 cash games, No Limit Hold'em, and then one day of the great game, Pot Limit Omaha.
The one downside is the cost. So to invest in that software and that capability is probably 6 figures. So it's probably expensive to do that one time.
Yeah, listen, there's the Poker on Air. They're in Akron, Ohio. They had capability to do Pot Limit Omaha. I went out there because I was so excited I couldn't believe it. You're telling me that they can't do it there? Even Live at the Bike can do it. You're saying Live at the Bike can do it? They just got they just get the Fed just took that. Nah. I don't know if that's a good example right now. Too soon, not sure. But you're telling me they can do it, but you can't?
We could do it. We just have to pay for the software, and it would take some time to build it. But at the same time, I don't think it's worth it for us. And I don't know if they're doing it at the same level of capabilities that we're doing it. So to match what we're doing for No Limit, it might be tough. So I know, hey, if it means anything to you, I prefer playing PLO all the time over No Limit. I would always prefer playing PLO cash over No Limit cash. Does it make you feel any better?
No, it doesn't. No. I hear your answers. I know how you answer questions. Of course, you're going to say that if it makes me feel any better. The next idea I have then is, why don't you make players pay to come on the show if there's so many? If no Pot Limit Omaha is coming, I'm just going to come on and say it. If you got 70 people lined up, why don't you maybe the players got to pay. This is a fucked up idea.
We could.
Sorry to anybody out there. I'm sorry. LKS, Loki Savage, Dad O'Brien. I know you're out there listening. You got mad at me. But what about that idea? Considered that?
Well, don't think it hasn't crossed my mind. I don't want to do it because it's not a good look. But don't think that I can't invite 3 amateurs to every game and charge 4 pros, $2,000 or $3,000 to sit in the game. I mean, for Poker Night in America, not myself, but the show could charge them, and they would play you. If I you remember the game that Doug and Sean D played in Sugar House?
I recall that one.
How much do you think Doug and Sean would pay to play on that show?
I don't know. One way to find out.
I think they'd pay a lot of money to play on that show. That's my point. So we could do that, but that's just not us. We're not going to do that. We're not trying to milk the players. We're not trying to get over on anyone. We're just trying to provide a great environment for players, make it friendly for them, make it successful for the casinos that we're going to, and have a show on TV where it shows people how much fun poker can be when they watch it at home. And so that this way they want to come into the casino and play it themselves. And that's really our goal.
So what do we got planned at the stores, man? I saw you guys were talking to Hashtag King. I can't even like emulate him, but shout out to Hashtag King. I feel like we're gonna have some. Listen, man, a lot of people hate the Hashtag King guy. I get it. Kind of fucking annoying. I can understand that. But at the same time, I don't know, man. I'm excited to go out with him one night in summer in Vegas, man. I feel like we're having a good time. But yeah, so Hashtag King, this guy's crazy. He's out of line. He's talking all this mad shit, posting all this naked stuff on Twitter. It seems like you're gonna have him on the show. What's going on? What's happening with this?
So I met him once, and he's as crazy as ever. You know, obviously he's nuts. He's crazy on Twitter. He makes me look like a puppy, for sure. So he just wants to be on the show. I mean, I think he's going to be a huge addition for the show. We're going to have, so on Friday, April 21st at Choctaw Casino, it's going to be his inaugural show appearance. It's going to be an epic lineup. Here's the lineup. You ready, Joey?
I'm ready. Let's hear it.
Hashtag King, Brandon Cantu, Sean Deeb, who Brandon Cantu and Sean Deeb absolutely despise each other. I don't know if you know that. So that's going to be entertaining itself. Doug Polk, Mike Dentale, you ever hear him? He's the #1 search poker player in the world last week, worldwide.
Jesus. And
Dan Shack on that episode. So that'll be Friday. That live stream.
Wait. What stakes? Is this like a 2-5? What stakes are these?
No, just 25-50, but I'm sure they'll straddle and stuff. But here's the thing. We had a 200-400 game in Florida last November. Remember with Perkins and Jason Mercier.
Right.
And
wait. How much is Doug paying you to be in this lineup?
Exactly. That's my point, Joey. You finally figured it out.
I'm kidding, guys. Come on, it's a fucking tough lineup. We got a lot of great high stakes cash game players in that lineup.
How do you think Doug feels about paying the tip in that lineup? If he has to pay the tip that day, when he pays $50 a half an hour if the right card comes out for him. So what we do as players, generally when we're on the show, is the first hand of each dealer, the dealers shift every half an hour, and on the first flop, whatever the card on the left is. So let's say it's the 7 card. It's a 7 of diamonds. It would be the 7 seat that would pay the $50 at half an hour. That's all it is. It's not like when you win, you tip more at the end. It's just $50 a half. And if anybody wants to tip more, which some people do, they do at that time also when they win a hand. But that show is going to be so epic, and it's going to be a lot of fireworks. So
wait a second. I just want to run this lineup one more time. Let's look at Hashtag King. Okay. Dentale's in the lineup. Better wear in the fucking tank top, Mike. Come on, kid. Dan Shack, Brandon Cantu, Sean Deeb, Douglas K. Polk, and who's the 7th person?
And a local.
A local professional player?
No. Local amateur.
A local amateur Choctawian player.
Yeah. Oklahoma or Texas guy.
So in that spot, how do you decide on who is the next guy up, the next man off the bench, the guys in the hole? How do you decide who are those people?
It's a field game. It's not really GTO. It's kind of exploitative strategy. So basically, when we do lineups, we're basically making the show as balanced as we can. So there's a lot of things for TV that people don't realize in live stream where you try not to put 2 talkative people right next to each other at the table, and you kind of separate them, or a tall person and a short person, kind of not put them right next to each other for the cameras. And there's a lot of strategic ways. You're laughing at the chat, aren't you? I can't see the chat.
Of course, I'm looking at the chat. So they said, does Doug have a live seat script? I'm like, yes, he definitely has a live seat script right now. There's no doubt about it. He's got a live seat script. So
usually the most entertaining person or talkative person will be in the center seat. So we're 7-handed. It's usually the 4th seat is kind of the feature player for that day. So you'll usually see like Phil Hellmuth in the 4th seat, right? Because everybody loves to see him and loves to see him blow up, and he's usually in the center. But Like Gentile, when she's there, she's usually in the center seat, that kind of thing. So when we're setting lineups, we have those things together. You saw #King going at it with liberal check lately, right, on the Twitter, and it got to a point where they probably shouldn't be on the same show, right? Because it's really sexist. It's going to make.
They should definitely be on the same show. What are you?
It's like
he's not going to say that in person. Come on, man. I mean, right?
No.
I don't know.
So whatever, she's going to play the second day, and he's going to play the first day. So the second day is going to be 4 chicks and 3 guys. Am I going to get in trouble for saying chicks?
Wait, excuse me. What is the wording you said? 7 human beings, or what did you say? 4 chicks, 3 dudes.
Is that a microaggression saying chick? I'm sorry. I apologize, guys. I apologize. So there's going to be 4 girls and 3 guys in the second day.
What's the second day lineup? I'm curious for this lineup.
So,
what we got?
Yeah, it'd be hard for me to remember all these people, but Kelly Winterhalter, who's an up-and-coming star. She played on our show in Sacramento. She's really cool.
Just had her on the podcast. Shout out to Kelly. I had her on the podcast after that.
She's really cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
Esther Taylor, Ite, the famous Ite. Liberal chick who is named Courtney. Oh man, I never met her in person, so we only spoke on text. But she's going to play. Her name is @liberal chick on Twitter. And Kelly Hine who's a local down there. She's going to play on the show. And then I think the guys on the show.
Do not tell me Doug Polk's in this fucking game too, Matt. Please.
Doug Polk is not in that lineup.
Okay.
Why, you think because it's 4 girls it's so soft? That's not right, Jelly.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, listen, man, I don't know. I don't know these players are regular players. I don't know what's happening, but don't tell me Doug's in the lineup too, please. Okay, who else in this lineup?
So Kyle Julius, you know him, right?
My guy Kyle. What's up, puppy? Man, that's my guy, man. I like Kyle. I like him a lot.
Who else is in there? I could look it up for you. I forget.
I like him, man. He's a good basketball player. You should be you should put a basketball element in there for Kyle. He's debatably one of the best basketball poker players in the entire poker world.
For sure. He's up there with you, right?
What other guys are in the game, though?
I forget. And now they're going to be mad at me when they watch this and I forgot who it was. But guys, I'm telling you, poker players.
Or something like Howard got. How do people get in this game, Matt? It seems like you're the door. You're like the gateway guy at the door, holding the javel there, waiting to let them in. What do they got to do? What do they got to do, Matt? What's the secret here? Take you to dinner, buy you things, because this seems like a valuable position that you're potentially in, like a bouncer at a nightclub. You know, you grease them. Depending on where you're at, you might grease them a couple dollars through a game.
There's no pay to play to get in the game. It's all about being entertaining for the show. And like I tell almost everyone that wants to play on there, it's not about the poker. Like I couldn't care less if you're the best poker player in the world or the worst. I don't care if you're tight or you're action. I really only care if you're going to be good for the show. You got to be entertaining. That's really all that matters. Most of the entertaining guys are action, so it just works out good that way.
So how can we get Doug in that game too then?
I think Doug's going to play on Sunday again, so Friday and Sunday, but he can't play every day. Doug really wants to play, huh?
Well, I don't know. Maybe listen, Doug's a busy guy. If he takes a trip down to Choctaw, he's probably going to want to participate in some games. So if there's a game Friday.
There's a tournament that day too. The Saturday, there's a day 1B, the last day 1 of $1,100 Poker Night in America main event where there'll be over 1,000 entries. So he might want to take a shot in that. But also, Doug's a enterprising guy. He might want to be in the booth that day and hype up his website, Upswing Poker, and all that stuff, and commentate on the action with the girls there that day. So you never know.
Harry Clint says Joe can't go 5 minutes without mentioning Doug. You're right, Harry. I'm not going to go 5 minutes for the rest of my entire life without bringing up Doug's fucking name. That's a great point, my friend. That is a great point there. So who was commentating on Friday down there? Who's going to be in the booth? Because you guys had some good commentators. You had Olivier do it. I think Olivier always does a really great job. You had Sean. You had Doug. Who else you got potentially on the commentating deck here?
So we're going to do something different this time. Because of the lineup the way it is on Friday, we're not going to have a commentator. What do you think of that? I don't think we need a commentator with those 7 guys.
I don't know. I mean, maybe like just someone there just in case something happens, or they can potentially explain something to the people in the audience, because there will be a lot of noobs watching it too. So maybe just like one person when there's a lull or something like that might be able to explain something. But I mean, it'd be interesting to try. I mean, you could obviously try it out. That's how you run a simulation. You try it out, kind of see what happens, and then adjust your strategy from there.
So we might have someone go in the booth, do an intro at the beginning, but once the players' cards are in the air, we're going to try it this time. We're with no commentator. I know a lot of people are going to be really interested in hearing what the table talk is that day, so I don't want any interruptions. And I don't believe there's going to be many silent moments with the hashtag King, Cantu, Doug Polk, Sean Deeb, Dan Shack. Who else am I forget? And the great Mike Dentale. Like, how much silence could there possibly be that day?
Man, I can't watch that. I don't even want to hear this. Like, you're gonna make people listen to fucking 5 hours of that. Those guys talk in that group. My God, I can't even imagine the type of banter that's gonna be taking place in there. But so when's that taking place? That's April
21st on a Friday.
April 21st on a Friday. All right, cool. Well, I mean, I know people are going to tune in. Obviously, I'm going to watch. I'm kidding around. I want to watch what happens. I want to see how these guys mingle. I want to see the type of play they have. I do wish it was the great game of Potman Omaha, but I completely understand, 6 figures, etc. So, but I guess besides that, what's lined up after that? World Series coming up after that. Is there anything planned out there? I don't really remember ever seeing any Poker Night in America stuff out in Vegas, but that might change this year, or is that still not happening?
So in early May, we're going up to Montreal to film 3 days of cash up there for the it's like the Party Poker 5 million guarantee, $5,000 entry thing. I forget what it's called. But we're filming a private game up there, a big private game, not just the regular 25-50. So we're not going to supply the players. They have players in the private game up there. Should be pretty special. Some famous poker players will be involved there. I don't want to mention any names. It is private, but it will be live stream those days, so you'll be able to see. I'm sure we'll announce in a couple weeks, and it'll be made for TV also. So that's pretty exciting. And then we take off for the World Series, and then in August we'll be up in New York and Hard Rock down in Florida. So I know we already have lists for those games. We're already on alternates for those stops in August. So it feels like we're really blowing up, and I hope the players realize that we want to get on as many players as we can. For me personally, I want to get players as much exposure as we can get them. I think we did a fantastic job with Cate and Mike Dentale. Like for example, Cate's fairly well known. Mike, fairly well known on the East Coast up until about 6 months ago, and when they started that feud. And the 2 weeks following after the match, they were the #1 and #3 web search poker players in the world for those weeks, according to Poker News and GPI and Hen the Mob, all that stuff. So that's pretty impressive to go from small time to big time, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you could be known for being a bunch of fucking assholes who are loud and brash and talking shit to each other in a negative way. I mean, I think that's obviously what we all strive for in this world, Matthew. So I can definitely understand. I can understand how they might be excited to get their word out there and known as that. I guess I don't know.
Who would win in a fight? Who would win in a fight? Who would win in a fight between you and Dentale? Just between.
I got Dentale, man. He's like he's warmed up, man. I would never fight Mike, man. I like Mike a lot, but I would do some work.
Tank top versus tank top.
What do you say?
What's that? Tank top versus tank top.
Me versus Mike Dentale.
Would you play him in a PLO match, best of 3?
What are you talking about? What are you even saying, man? I mean, I'd play anyone in a great game of Potman Omaha match. If it was streamed,
Dentale play.
I'll play anybody at Potman Omaha if it would be some sort of stream for sure.
That Dentale plays PLO cash almost every weekend, right?
I know, that's why I like him. He wears tank tops and he plays Potman Omaha. That's why I like the guy because of those reasons, man. If he wasn't wear tank tops, I don't know.
My mind's just going here, but you versus Mike in a 30K heads up PLO match, and then a 30K inside the ring cage match. Maybe we could work something out.
Why do you want to get us in the cage? What are you like, some sort of fucking savage? What are you trying to see here, man?
I mean, you guys got the tank tops and the muscles. It seems like a pretty good fit. You guys seem evenly matched. Maybe not in the PLO, but in the cage, you might be evenly matched.
Is that what I have to do to get a PLO match? I got to go in the fucking cage and do a little. I mean, I got Olivia. I'll call up Olivia. I'll go spend some time with Olivia at New York or something like that. But oh man, let's take some questions from the chat. Listen, I'm thinking about it, man. I'm thinking about it. We take some questions from the chat here. Let me get some shout outs. You want to give some shout outs, Matt? You got somebody to shout out there in the world?
Shout out to my favorite gay friend in poker, DJ McKinnon. Love the kid.
What did you just say?
You heard.
No, I didn't hear. What was that?
One of my favorite people in poker who also happens to be gay, DJ McKinnon. Love the kid.
Shout out to DJ. Shout out to DJ. Who else? Any other shout outs you want to give?
Mike Dentale, Cate Hall. Thanks, guys, for coming through. I was really worried that it wasn't going to happen. Everyone in poker kept telling me it's not going to happen, and I'm an idiot for putting all this together and trying to, so we were spending money advertising and social media and putting a lot. They said it was all going to be for nothing, which turned out to be false. So I'm pretty happy about that. So shout out to those guys.
Yeah, man, I think you guys did an excellent job, and I think you sort of potentially laid a blueprint for what's possible out there. I mean, you took two players who, as you mentioned, maybe known a little bit in the Twitter world, a little bit in that world, but they're not super well-known players, and you were able to turn that into a show where a lot of people tuned in, a lot of people were interested in it. And I think that as we see poker develop here, and they're sort of taking skill out of the game in a lot of ways with the online sites and kind of just the way that entire thing's going, I feel like, that might be something in the future where you're able to build these matches up from different types of players, and it doesn't always have to be a Phil Ivey or a Patrick Antonius, that it can be different types of players. So I think you sort of may have found a formula that could do very well in the future for creating entertaining and compelling poker content.
Yeah, I totally agree. So here's the thing. Let's just all try to have fun with poker and try to build the game. And it's not something where I want to build the game because I love poker and I owe it to poker. It's not like that. It's just good for me. It's good for you. It's good for everyone that's involved in poker, for us all to grow the game. It's not some noble cause. Let's just do it because it helps us all out. And let's just have fun and stop worrying about all the rules and technicalities. I'm not saying you shouldn't. You have to have integrity, and you have to, you don't want to cheat or multi-count, all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying don't worry so much about being a stickler for the rules and being quiet at the table and respecting people's the sanctity of them thinking about a pot on the river. Enjoy, needle people, have a good time at the table, make everyone have a good time.
No TOS breaking is what Matthew's saying. If there's TOS, no one's breaking TOS. Everybody's in line. Just be careful, man. Let me find some questions here in the chat. CG Puppy, I saw him out there. What do you say, CG? He said, did they talk about how Dentale said that they gave him buy-in for the challenge? So
he was joking that we gave him $30,000 for the buy-in, as did I joke, responded that, don't worry, Dentale, what you didn't know is we gave Cate $60,000. Nobody got anything. So here's what they did get. Both players paid their own way to get there. Mikey drove, Cate took a train, no reimbursement. They got a nice hotel at the Hilton Penn's Landing in Philadelphia, which is really nice. They got the hotel for the weekend, whenever they want to use it. They got dinner if they wanted, but the night before, but Cate wasn't in town yet. So Mikey got that with we went out with the CEO, the GM. We went out with a whole bunch of players like Helmuth, Olivia, I don't even know, not Olivia, Helmuth, Buck Polk, John Deeb, all that. There was like 22 people at dinner. So they got that, whatever, they got a dinner, and the casino, as a thank you, wasn't part of the deal originally, but as a thank you, the casino gave them each $500. Not only those two, but the two commentators. Just a $500 like bonus, cash comp. So they got cash. They could spend it. They don't have to spend the casino, just actual cash. So it was just a thank you. That's what they got. No $30,000, nothing. They just got a thank you, $500. So they put up their own money.
Okay. Let's see. Steve K says, who is Matt trying to get on Poker Night America that he can't?
So obviously the one guy I want on is Daniel, but Daniel always big times me. Daniel was on the show once before and we got huge numbers. He was on the Twitch streamers game. We had like Somerville, Daniel, Esfandari, a couple other guys. And that was like huge Twitch numbers because those guys all have a huge following on Twitch. So I always ask Daniel if he wants to play. He always big times me. He says no, laughs. And but I keep asking. Hopefully one day he'll feel like he wants to play.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you got the best chance you have to get Daniel on there is if you probably raise the rake, don't you think? More rake? No? I'm kidding. For fuck's sakes, man. Let's see. Another.
I actually think the best way to get Daniel on there is to tie Doug Polk to a chair with his arms behind the chair, and Daniel might want to have his way with him, I think. That'll be the best way to get on the game.
Dax Green says, Puppy, I'm just curious the Matt's response explanation to what he said during the all-in hand with Kaufman and Deeb. Not trying to stir anything up, just curious if he regrets it.
Oh, so that's probably that's like something that I was talking about before. So when like I'm trying to have fun, like I'm on the game, when I'm on the show, like I'm trying to talk, like I'm trying to liven it up, have everyone have a good time. And I'm not worried about the sanctity of poker. Like it's like going to church or something like that. Like Sean had a big decision on the river. He's thinking about the hand. The guys raised him all in. The guy three bet the river, Kaufman, who's hilarious, the greatest guy. He's sitting next to me. You know, my read is that Kaufman's like wants to have fun and wants to like engage. And so I'm like needling Sean when he's got the decision to make. Me and Sean go way back. We always needle each other in these spots. So he doesn't care. I don't care. I'm enjoying it, and Kaufman seems to be enjoying it. So I don't care what anybody else thinks. Like I know, like Olivier and Polk on the commentary were like, "Wow, I can't believe Matt's doing that." But like, think big picture, guys. Like it's whatever. It's a poker hand. Like I'm not helping Sean realize that the like the straights, the same thing as trips in the spot. Like Sean knows poker. I'm not like enlightening him in a no limit situation, right? So like I'm like needling him. Basically, I had no idea the guy was bluffing, but it was great. I was so happy when Sean folded and the guy showed a huge bluff for like 40,000, whatever it was. That was amazing. So it was like such a great moment in the show. And I'm not going to apologize to anyone. That's the way I am at the table. And if you don't like it, if you don't like it and you're at the table, I'm not going to do it to you. I'm only going to do it to the people that really like that stuff and enjoy it at the table. And just trying to have fun. Don't worry about all being like, it's not church, guys. It's poker. Mm-hmm. All these little like bitch poker players are like worried about the sanctity of the game and the sanctity of poker.
Like who bitches? Who's bitching? I don't know. I don't follow bitching Twitter or bitching poker Twitter. I'm not sure who does it.
I see like players be like, oh, it's not right for the World Series to charge 20% rake in this stupid event or whatever, and like it's scummy. I'm like, whatever. It's whatever. They're trying to make money. Like, who cares? Like, just don't go if you don't like it.
Well, in that instance, isn't the players who may have a platform, it's sort of if they could potentially have any type of impact on that rake being lowered, it's sort of a free roll from their situation to maybe voice something, get people behind it, and then say something. Because, I mean, if that stands, well, then it gets 20, well, then it could get higher. So, I mean, it seems like a free roll in the player spot to just say something and then.
100%, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. Maybe I'm not being clear. So, like, a good example is Ari. What's Ari's last name? Bodog Ari.
Ari Engel.
Ari Engel. So he goes about it the perfect way. Like if somebody like somebody's charging like a ridiculous amount at some World Series circuit event, he doesn't go bitch. He goes onto Twitter and says something to the TD or the guys running it and says, and just goes out on Twitter and says, guys, poker players, I don't think you should go to this event. The cost is too high, the rake's too high, and you should just pass on this one and go somewhere else. That's the right way to go about it. Exactly what you're saying. But to say like they're scummy or something for charging a lot of rake is ridiculous. That's like saying like I live in Philadelphia, like the Philadelphia Eagles are scummy for charging $12 for a hot dog at the stadium. Like it's the same exact thing. It's just business.
It's not personal. It's just business.
Right. So just don't go. And if enough people don't go, then the prices will go down. And to encourage other players.
Couple more comments here in the chat. Let's see. I gotta get some shout out. Hold on a second, Matt. Let me get some shout outs. Let me get sit up here or sat up, whatever it's called here. Who we got out there, man? I know we got my buddy Joey LeBert out there. What's up, puppy? Patrick Knight in the chat, man. We got some weird motherfuckers. You share some weird comments. I got a lot of love for all my weirdos out there. Andrew Lauer out there. What's up, kid? Harry Clint, Tommy Tom, Cordisma 91. What's up, Coramosa? You speak Spanish, Matt, by any chance?
I did in 8th grade, 9th grade. I haven't spoke since.
Okay. All right. Shout out to my wizard assistant, Jonah Vella. What's up, Jonah? Always hard on the grind. Check out his Instagram, @Jonah Vella. Who else we got? Franz, Mikel, Roasted Out, Rud Forever, Autistic Sheep. Huh, okay. Big J, what's up, my buddy Justin Ortiz? What's up, puppy? Special Karen, Steve K. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Be back on Friday with Kevin. Matt, you got Instagram, Matt? Where can people find you, man? Snapchat? What you got? What's your stuff?
I am a Twitter only guy. So I have Facebook. It's just for family and friends, and I'm not really public on Facebook. But Twitter that's all I have. No Instagram, nothing. Just at Matt Glantz.
Why do I think I've seen you on Snapchat? Maybe it's through some of the other players in the games. That might be it, or I don't know. Maybe I'm getting.
No, you are confused. You saw me on Snapchat watching your videos that you sent me privately that were excellent videos, and I appreciate that, and we'll always remember that.
You mean the ones where I was with the girl, or which videos are you talking about?
Yeah, when you were playing chess in San Diego.
hey, listen, man. We'll be back on the podcast on Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern. My buddy Kev Matt, the legend of the fucking poker world. And that's all I got, man. Check out the merchandise. DTO is the way of life. Eat, sleep, PLO, tank tops, hoodies, t-shirts. # more rakes up there too. Pigeon is out, and Instagram Poppy GTO. I'm gonna be getting more in line. My out of line traveling is coming to an end very soon. Shout out to my girl Scarlett, and that's it. That's what I got. Matt, any parting words?
Just for all the young poker players out there, try to be more entertaining. Enjoy poker. Enjoy it for what it is, and let's all make a lot of money.
That's what we got. Adios, everybody. Take care. Peace out. Be back on Friday live.